Welcome back guys, my name is Mohan and let's continue this series on Python which is for absolute beginners. So in our previous session we show variable, its data type and we show how we can do type conversion of variable in Python. So now in today's session I am going to talk about if else or we can say conditional statement in Python. So let's start the session and take a look at the agenda first. So first of all, I am going to talk about what are Python conditions and then I will discuss what is if and else statement in Python. Moving further, I will tell about the syntax for if else statement with an example which I will be run in Visual Studio Code Editor. After that, I will discuss shorthand if statement and finally to sum up the session, I will show you our use case with nested if else. I hope you all guys clear with the agenda of today's session. So without any further ado, let's start this session. In real life, we always go with the flow. Example, we'll do this, then we'll do this. And then at certain point, we decide either we have to do this or do this. Example, after completing our 10th, you have to decide which field you want to go for. Right? We always take a decision based on the certain conditions. Can we do that in Python? So in Python as well we write statements, right? So we write one statement, second statement, then third statement. And then we realize we have two flows now. Either we have to go this way or we have to go that way. And that is where we have to apply conditions. So there are few conditions which are supported in Python and the reasons I am telling you about this condition is because these conditions are used in if statement. So following all the statements that we have which is equals to in which we have two variable and we are using the equals to operator for these conditions. Then we have not equal to. Similarly, we less than, more than, and there is less than equal to and more than equals to. So you will be able to understand better when I am showing you the example guys. Because when we are using the if statement, it's actually a decision making statement. So we have like a condition. So if it is true, then we are going to execute certain command or certain statement. And if it is false, we are going to skip the execution guys. So you will be able to understand this when we are working on the example guys. So just to show you guys what these conditions are, I have mentioned all these conditions. Now that we are done with Python conditions, now let's try to understand what is if and else in Python. So if basically is a condition statement which will have test expression and if the expression is true then the body of this statement is executed. Similarly, when the test experience is false, the execution move to the next block which going to be the else block and then it is executed anyway. So when the whole block is not executing, the else block will be executed. This all about if and else statement guys. So you will be able to understand this better when I am going to tell you the example or when we are going to write the example in our Visual Studio Code editor. Then we also have an else if or elif statement that we have in Python. So it is a subsequent statement with another text expression, which means if statement is false, the execution moves to elif statement, and if the elif statement is false, the execution moves to else statement. Now let's take a look at flowchart or we can say flow diagram to understand how it's work guys. So first of all, when execution start, the text expression is going to be tested. And if it is true, the block will be executed, which is the if block or the body of if in this flow diagram, guys. Or if expression is false, the execution is going to the next block, which will be either another expression in the Elif block or the else block. So this is how the flow works inside a if statement, guys. Now that we know how it works, guys, let's take a look at the syntax for if statement. So as you can see, first of all, we write if statement, that is if keyword. After that, we write expression followed by the column. After that, we write the statement that we need to execute it inside the if block. After that, we have an elif block or an else block. Similarly, for all blocks, we have to provide certain statement we need to execute it. So this is how the syntax works, guys. So now that we know how the execution works, let's start with a simple example to check if a number is an even number or an odd number. So let's take it up to Visual Studio Code, guys. So we are in the Visual Studio Code, guys. If you don't know what is Visual Studio Code or ID is, please check out our second tutorial video, which is based on Python setup, and you will able to know how we work on Visual Studio Code editor. So first of all, let me just go with a simple example to check if number is an even number or not. First of all, I will take a number, let's say 10, and I want to check if 10 is an even number or not. So I am just going to show how I am going to write the conditions. So this is percentile operator. So what it's going to do is it's going to calculate the remainder. So if it is equals to 0, if I divide a number, let's say 10, remainder is going to 0. So in any case, if a number is an even number, it's going to show us a remainder as 0. So we are going to write here print statement, which is even number. Now what I am going to do is I am going to do an another test expression. Let's say if elif, which is else if x percentile 2 is not equals to 0, we will just print an odd number here, and I am going to give another test expression. Let's say else statement. So if none of these conditions are true, the execution will be moved to the else block and it will print try again. Now when I run this, I am getting out as even number because our percentile is going to be 0 over here. Let's try the command line input, guys. So I will just write int input, guys. So we'll just write in input enter a number, and when I run this again, so I have to enter a number over here. Let's say I want 20, which is an even number. Now let's try with 13, guys. So we know it's working pretty fine. So now to understand this better, let's take another complex example. So we will try to find out if number is a prime number or not. So let's say if statement is if x is greater than 0 for I in range, and we want the range from 2 to x. So I will explain this later, guys. Now I will write one more if statement. So if x percentile 2 is equals to 0, then it is not a prime number, and else print prime number. So when I run this, so we already know that 3 is a prime number, guys. So I will just write 3, which is showing me that it is a prime number. To run it again, let's try another number, let's say 29. So I get 29 is also a prime number. Alright. So I have to provide a control statement here. See how it differ. So I once again try 29. I am getting prime number as well. So let's try for another number. So I will try 10 over here, which is not a prime number. So to explain this, first of all, I am providing a condition which is if statement. So first of all my condition is the number has to be greater than 0. So let's say I provide a number, let's say -2. No output cause it's not going to enter this block. So to explain this, print one more condition and I will just print over here, give a positive number, and when I run it again and provide a number as -2, so it will show me that give me positive number as the output. So this explain things. Now if I am moving to the if block, the number is greater than 0. I have one loop guys. So to know more about loop guys, check other tutorials from our channel and you will be understand better then. So what happens here? I have a for loop in which I have this variable I which is going to be in range 2 and x. So what it means is the number will be in range from 2 until the number x. Let's say I have x is equals to 5. The range is going to be 2, 3, 4 and 5 because we already know that 2 is a prime number but 1 is not. So we are starting from 2 and then we have one more if condition which is saying that if x percentile 2 equals to 0, which means that the number is divisible by another number. So which exactly not a constant of a prime number. So we are printing prime number over here. And because we are in a loop, so we have to use control statement which is break statement guys. As soon as this is true, which is going to break or if it's going to exit the block. Now we have one more statement else, which means if this is not true, which is x percentile 2, if the remainder is 0, it is print not a prime number. So I hope you all guys are clear with the concept of using if else in a statement, and I have also shown you how you can use a for loop inside this, and this is a simple program you can write to find out if number is a prime or not. So now that we are familiar with how we can use if and else in Python, let's take a look at other approach which is shorthand if and else. So I will clear this. So what exactly is shorthand if? Basically, you can call this shorthand if as if you are writing the statement in a single line. So I will show you guys. So what I am going to do is I will just take a 2 input. So write x. Now the shorthand if statement is going to take place. So what I will do is I will just write if x is greater than y, print greater. Now when I execute this, let's see what happens. So I will just write the number as let's say 10. Another number is 8. It is greater number. And similarly, let's say I want to print if it is smaller number or not. What I will do is I will just write print greater if x greater than y, else print smaller. Now when I run this, I will enter a number, let's say 10, and another number will be 12. So it is a smaller number. So as you can see guys, so this is an optimized way to writing a if else statement guys. Now that we are done with shorthand program, let's take a look at the use case in which we will make a rather complex program using the nested conditional statements. So I am going to clear all this. So for a nested statement, first of all, we have to know what nested if else is. So basically nested statement are in which like more than one statement are present. So let's say I have if statement and it's saying that if x is greater than y. So nested if statement will be I will add one more if statement, and again in this I will add one more if statement. So I will keep adding all this if statement, and this is going to be nested block guys. So I keep adding this if statements, and this is going to be nested block guys. To understand this, let's take an example. So we will write first of all to get our input variable. So I will just write enter a number here. So let's say if I have an if statement, so I will just write if x is greater than 0, I will have an if statement. So let's x is less than 5, it will be print less than 5, and or else it will be print greater than 5. So now let me have one more statement here guys. Let's I have elif statement, and inside this let me get one more statement here. If x is greater than 10, let's say, so I will have to make it has to be x has to be less than 10 over here. I will have to add one more add operator. Now let's say if x is greater than 10 and equals to 10, so I will just print greater than or equals to 10, and else statement let's say enter a number again. So let's execute this. First of all, let me get a number less than 5. So it will showing me that it's less than 5. Let's say I want number as 7. It is going to show me it is greater than 5. So if number is equals to or greater than 10, so it is going to show me number is equals or greater than 10. So now that we are done with the nested if else program guys. I hope you all guys are clear with the concept discussed in this session. If you have any query, you can ask in the comment section below, and our team will be happy to get back to you as soon as possible. In our next session, I will be talk about while loop. So subscribe this channel and stay tuned. Thank you. Have a nice day.